How long does Classic have left? A video from WillE? What is this?
How long does Classic have left? It feels like it's gone by very fast, doesn't it? Well, at least for me it does, and I've pretty much played the game every single day since release where I'm able to. I don't even think that that's an exaggeration. Classic WoW launched on the 26th of August 2019. Here we are early June, coming up to 10 months into Classic and the content it has to offer, and it's safe to say we are for sure considerably past the halfway mark. Players had well-founded concern early on into Classic that content was coming out too fast. Diamore was released on the 15th of October 2019, about a month and a half after Classic had launched.
I've heard a lot of people are complaining that Classic is basically just releasing the content way too fast, and but what you have to understand is that Blizzard as a company, they want to make profit. I think it's kind of obvious, and what's gonna happen is if you're gonna be having, for example, 10 months between the content release, is that a lot of people are just going to be stopping, and they're not going to be playing anymore. And even if the content is going to be released later, those people are not going to be coming back. I think that's what Blizzard think might happen. So what they are doing is that they are basically not doing so big of the periods between the content, and in that case they are keeping the people hooked. They are giving them new treats, new candy. Like here you got Zul'Gor up, here you got AQ20, here you got AQ40, and I think that's the case, and I understand. And yeah, at the end I think there's still gonna be people who are gonna be playing Classic because they just love the game, and I heard a lot of people that are complaining about the retail is just, even for example recently I was watching a stream from a YouTuber Gortrux, WoW Arena, and he was basically mentioning that he's pissed that in retail you just still have to catch up. You always have to catch up. You never have just your gear, and now you have good gear. You still need to be some catching up to do. Always. There's a new thing released, new patch. Everything doesn't make sense. This person has been nerfed. This class has been nerfed. Now you have to be farming that gear and that gear and that gear, and it's just never ending catching up. And I think that's why some of the people are kind of they just don't enjoy it, all the time, just progressing. I think we're gonna be seeing a lot of people who will be just playing Classic, and they're just gonna be playing Classic. They're gonna be farming Naxxramas, they're gonna be farming AQ40, they're gonna be farming Blackwing Layer, and quite to be honest, they're gonna be having a blast, and they're gonna be having a good time, because I think that Classic is a good game. I know that I heard a lot of critics, a lot of people are saying that, the director of the Blizzard, or that motherfucker, was correct when he was saying that you think that you don't, but you don't. You do? Well, what the hell? You know what I'm saying? He was basically saying that people are not going to be liking Classic, and the opposite became the truth. I think that Classic is attracting a special type of people. The people who are more driven by the community aspect of the MMORPG, and not so much the tactics, the utility, the overall graphic design, and all this types. Basically, World of Warcraft is about the community, and that's what these people actually care about, I think. Because if I compare Classic with expansions like TBC or World of Warcraft, in my personal opinion, Wrath of the Lich King and TBC are much more enjoyable to play. I personally love Wrath of the Lich King because the haste gear started to be a meta, and what it basically means is that you have really fast globals, and I just like fast PvP, fast, you are pressing the buttons fast, and that's what I personally like. That's why I find Classic PvP kind of casual, because I'm on my Shaman, and then I just press Chain Lightning, bam, with a Frost Shock at the end, and the person is 40% HP. So then what I'm doing is that I'm trying to cast Lightning Bolt, or I just cast Frost Shock and the person is dead. And it's okay, Shaman is very strong in the battlegrounds, I understand that, but also at the same time it's just kind of slow, and we have to understand that this game was made for the people who are born in 1960s. But anyway, let's continue with the video.
Vanilla, this update was around 3 months post-launch. This one particularly surprised me, as in Classic it takes a very long time to hit 60, and given that many players took as long as 8 days played to hit that big end level, this meant Blizzard would have expected a player to have invested around 4 hours a day for 45 days to hit that benchmark. Seems like a stretch for your average returning player. Regardless, this feverish pace pushed on as we got our honour and ranking system on November 14th, which kind of ended up forcing Blizzard's hand to get Battlegrounds out sooner rather than later, as PvP servers tore themselves apart. And the general gist of content coming out is that it's been done in a way that was far faster than it ever was.
The type of people who enjoy ranking to rank 14 High Warlord are the type of people who just enjoy this BDSM, this maso kind of stuff, you know, when you're naked and you're gonna be whipped, your ass is gonna be whipped by a whip from some 60-year-old granny. So this type of people like enjoy this type of, they just enjoy the torture and they just enjoy the suffering and they are embracing it. And like, respect for that. Like, you do you, dude. Like, yeah, if you enjoy that stuff. But yeah, the ranking is, I think it shouldn't be changed. I think it shouldn't be changed because now it at least means something. If you see somebody who is rank 14, hopefully he's not a botter. You got also, by the way, bots who are rank 14 and bots who are rank 13. Freaking mental. Imagine that you are putting hours and hours into the game. Literally 12-13 hours per day. You're playing, gaming. Alterac volley, then afterwards Warsong Gulch became the meta. Warsong Gulch premates all the time, every time. You're competing against the enemies in Horde team, but you're also competing against your own faction because you're climbing the ladder. And then what's gonna happen is that some bot will come and he will just take your spot because he can be playing 24 hours per 7. Anyway.
Than vanilla. In fact, the only correct patch timing we have so far is the 2-month period from Blackwing Lair to ZG, and looking ahead now, we only have 2 major content patches left. In vanilla, ZG to AQ was 4 months of time, and today we're about 1.5 months into our Phase 4 or ZG patch. Despite all this though, does the content feel overly rushed to you at the present? Do you think the game would have benefited from more closely matching the release schedule of actual vanilla? Because you know what was released 10 months into vanilla? ZG was. I bet you thought we were further ahead of Vanilla's timeline than that, right? Well, we certainly were early days, but time has started to catch up a little bit. In fact, the real substantial part of Vanilla's total length, which was just over 2 years overall by the way, was everything post-AQ. In Vanilla, the same amount of time passed between all the content from release up to AQ as passed from patch 1.9 and AQ to the release of TBC, both of
I think that right now the summer is coming, and I think it's gonna be a mistake on the Blizzard's part if they're gonna be releasing AQ20 and AQ40 during the summer. During the summer, not so many people are gonna be playing. It's just the fact people are gonna be outside. But actually, there is still Corona going on. So there is actually quite a good question. Even though the Corona is going on, I think there's still gonna be more people who are gonna be like outside and doing stuff like that. But maybe this year we're gonna be actually seeing more gamers. In my personal opinion, Blizzard should wait until like September and release AQ40 and AQ20 like let's say at the beginning of the September, and then next Ramas I would say at the beginning of the next year. I think that would be, and then let's say before the summer, probably TBC would be a good release date, but that's just my suggestion.
For those periods being about 30 months in length. I don't think there's too much to look into comparing Classic's timeline to Vanilla, other than doing it for interest's sake, but both in release schedule and for Classic itself, it's been entirely different from Vanilla. But it's quite interesting to remark that despite AQ being Phase 5 out of a total 6, in Vanilla, patch 1.9 and AQ was quite literally the halfway mark. Will it be our halfway mark as well then? No chance, in my opinion, no chance at all. I think we are very close to seeing Phase 5 being announced. I could honestly see it being this reset on Tuesday the 9th, if not the following one on Tuesday 17th of June. And that patch 1.9 itself will be sometime in mid-July, about 1 month after whichever date is announced on. Or even if there's not an announcement and Blizzard just do a post saying data Phase 5 coming soon, then it'll be a month from whenever that happens. Some people think Blizzard wouldn't release a major patch during the height of summer, but they have done it before and I fully expect them to do it again. So this then brings us the next question.
Okay, so they have done it in the past. So they actually might do it still. Yeah. If AQ40 is gonna be released during the mid of the summer, my guess, in that case, beginning of August, I think that in December we can see next MS release. That's my guess.
About Phase 6 then? Well, I think our Phase 5 will be our longest content phase in Classic so far, just as it was in Vanilla, as it pretty much has the most content contained in a single patch bar none. And if I'm putting that a ballpark of around 15th July for AQ, and that most servers will have the gates open by the end of July, I can see next happening towards the end of the year. Now, It's important to keep in mind here that
Bro, this is what I said.
Blizzard currently have Shadowlands planned for Q4 this year, as per an announcement made some time ago. Q4 basically means October, November or December. Most speculation is around late November at the moment, which, sitting here at the start of June whilst the game is still in alpha, makes me extremely concerned as to whether it will be ready for that timescale, given it not only needs to enter beta, but at least have around 1 month pre-patch for hype and for players to just familiarize themselves with the changes, but that's a whole different video right there. What I'm saying is that it makes no sense for Blizzard to compete with their own game in terms of release, and I strongly believe they will have at least 3 to 4 weeks between whenever Nax is out and Shadowlands is out. So that brings us to a kind of awkward position now, doesn't it? If my dates aren't too far off, that is, because by the time Shadowlands is out, we would have had about 4 months of AQ, which is borderline about right, veering on the long side of how long I believe Phase 5 will continue for. Nax is going to be mega hyped, of course, as will Shadowlands. We need a good time frame between those two things happening, though.
Bro, before when Nax is going to be released, it's going to be massive. And the reason for that is that Nax MS is having this aura around itself. Just the fact that so few people actually did it back in the past, because there was just not enough time and the difficulty. As I mentioned before in my videos, I'm playing Vanilla. And next MS is hands down the most difficult raid from all. MC, not that difficult. BWL, not that difficult. AQ20, ZG, not that difficult at all. AQ40, we are starting to adapt the difficulty, but then you have next MS. You got bosses. Thaddeus, somebody gonna freak up for sure all the time. You have 40 people in the raid. There needs to be checking their polarity, and depending if you have a minus debuff or a plus debuff, you need to be standing on a specific side of the boss, and he's changing the polarity, the signs every like 10 seconds, and sometimes you stay, and if one person is gonna mess this up from 40 people, he can wipe the whole raid. People are gonna be wiping on Thaddeus. I guarantee it. People are gonna be wiping on Hagan. They won't just be able to dance, quite to be honest. Hagan is a boss where I will just show you quickly Hagan next. This is the boss. You can see here there's like a I don't know if you can see it, but basically you need to be dancing around the platform in a specific patterns. What's gonna happen if you're not gonna be dancing in the specific pattern is that the lava is going to insta kill you. So you need to be really fast, and just like 1 or 1.5 seconds, or if you're 1 second too late, you're gonna die. Like, it is what it is, and a lot of people are just dying here because they just don't know how to dance. It's literally called like dance. Like, you're fighting the boss, then everybody gets into the position, and then you are dancing from one section there, back, da, and back to the platform. The DPS and melee are staying, and they are continuing, but half dance. They are half dancing, slow dance. Go and check Hagan if you wanna see more what I'm talking about.
Even as a player, this makes more sense for Blizzard to do. I sure would like some time between them to give me a chance to check both of them out in my own time,
This
instead
is
of having
Darius.
to
This is Darius, what I was telling you about the polarity. Like you have minus debuff and you have plus debuff.
choose between one or the other. So here's what I think they're gonna do. We're gonna get phase 5.5 mid to late October. This will consist of pretty much everything in phase 6 that is not Nax Ramus, the new relics, crafted items, profession stuff, world PvP objectives in Silithus and Eastern Plaguelands, and the Scourge invasions, complete with the new rep rewards from the Argent Dawn and all the hand-ins there and so on. This will go on for a good while longer than it ever did in vanilla, and then Nax Ramus will launch mid-December-ish, and it will go on for about a month and a half before a date for TBC is confirmed, which will be around the start of February. Then there will be about a 2-month period between TBC announcement and release, which means I think TBC will be sometime in April 2021. Now, the one...
Bro, TBC is gonna be massive. I love TBC. In my previous videos, I was mentioning that Wrath of the Lich King, the best expansion ever. But there's just something special about that patch. About that expansion is just the whole aura around itself. Hellfire Peninsula, Zangarmarsh, Shatra City, beautiful, Nagrand, beautiful areas. So much lore, Black Temple fighting Lady Vash, very good expansion.
thing that's an issue with this timeline is that I think that 3.5 months of just Nax Ramus may be on the short end, and that Blizzard will want a classic TBC beta to exist for a good while prior to the release to get hype levels raised, just like they did with Classic. But given what I think it will look like at the moment, that would almost certainly mean Blizzard has to confirm a rough date for TBC before Nax Ramus is even out, which I could see them saying TBC spring 2021 for sure, and I do believe that around April 2021 feels like quite a realistic date as for when it could happen. TBC coming out in April also does it at the start of Q2, which I'm not sure how much of a difference that truly makes, but there you go. This would mean Classic would have lasted about 18 months overall. Maybe that does feel a little bit on the short side. Maybe I'm way off. After all, the shortest expansion Blizzard has ever released was Warlords of Draenor, which lasted a total of 22 months. It also doesn't really give you any downtime. It would be as though you get Nax Ramus on farm and before you know it, boom, we're straight into TBC. No waiting about or time to chill. Saying all of this, TBC Classic isn't quite your usual expansion because the groundwork is all laid out for Blizzard. They just have to choose in what manner it will be released, choosing a patch mainly and what content phases there should be for TBC. The usual development cycle is all done for them, and they've even mentioned that should Classic continue, as it almost certainly will, I think we can say at this point, they have the ability to make that happen so much easier having now released Classic. On the other,
I think what might be a good idea for Blizzard to do is that basically they would do something similar like Warmane is doing with their Frostmourne server. In a nutshell, you will have fully progressed Classic servers, Phase 6. Fully progressed, all of them. What you will do afterwards is that you will wait for a bit, and then you will create a couple of servers that are going to be starting from phase 1. And these servers will be linked together, like PvP together. And basically what it allows you, that these people can be experiencing all these phases again. So you will be having fully progressed servers, then you will start with classic servers, classic WoW servers from phase 1, and then after 3 months phase 2 will come. After 4 months phase 3 will come, phase 4, 5, 6, and then after end these new servers will basically, people can be choosing like what server they want to merge with, and these servers will be closed, and all these people will be moved into the established servers. That's what I think what would be really nice.
on the other hand, part of me feels like TBC could be as late as May or June next year, and that Nax Ramus goes on for 5 or 6 months while we all just sit around and watch streams of people playing the beta all day. I can certainly see that happen as well. Let me know what your timeline looks like. The next thing, how is the release for TBC going to be done? So I've talked about this previously in a video, so let's cover that off real quick, because it's very important to get it right, so to speak. So following the survey Blizzard released some time ago, we can see that there is acknowledgement that some players do wish to stay in Classic rather than progress. I was very happy to see this because despite your or my thoughts on why a player would want to stay in Classic, You have to appreciate that some players have waited literally years for Blizzard to run a classic server, and whatever you think of Blizzard, unlike any private server, it's not going anywhere. It's not going to have legal problems or be randomly shut down. It's as if your time invested into your character is always going to be there, and that makes it very attractive.
Exactly, that's why a lot of people are just gonna be playing classic forever. Dude, I'm telling you now, forever. I know people who are playing Wrath of the Lich King for 9 years consistently. I personally know these people who are raiding Ice Crown Citadel, Trial of the Crusader, what is Ruby Sanctum, Obsidian Sanctum, all this stuff. They are raiding it all the time, and they just love the content.
Option for certain players. Even though you can come up with a list of issues with servers in Classic going on forever, you just have to accept that it makes some people happy, and that Classic ending for them after such a short period of time would be very disappointing. So I think there will still be Classic servers alongside TBC. This means that one side of the player base may have to transfer. Now at this point we don't know the details as for TBC launch. I think character copying to a Classic locked server closes any issues that arise from transfers like server balance name, guild name and so on. However, even given character copies, realms will 100% have to merge, as players remaining in Classic will be in the minority. This is where there is an issue with those remaining in Classic, and I don't really see a clear solution to this. Let me tell you the problem. Number one, if Blizzard carbon copies everything at the moment and ports it to Classic only servers, the population on 90% of the servers will be unplayably low for anything outside of Battlegrounds. Number two, if they allow free transfers and try to balance it, well, I think we've had enough proof of how free transfers go, and there will only probably end up being about 2 to 4 mega servers per region, maybe even with queues again. Option 3, create new servers, copy characters, allow players to pick a server and launch it around the same time as the TBC pre-patch. This means, however, that you have many players from big and small servers with hugely different amounts of wealth entering the economy. Maybe you just have to take a hit on this front though. I'm thinking it'll be something similar to option 2, and it will take months and months for server populations to settle again.
In my personal opinion, what would be a good solution to this problem would be that if you want to move to the TBC server with your gear, then your classic character is just going into TBC, and it's not gonna be staying on the classic server. So that's one solution what I would do. Basically, if you want to go to TBC and you don't want to be playing Classic anymore, you will just move your character, move it to the new server that is going to be TBC focused, and you're going to start from there. What I think the other solution might be that you want to keep your character on the Classic server, but you want to still be playing TBC. I think if you basically can somehow copy your character, but without old items. You know what I'm trying to do is that I'm trying to somehow do it that you're not gonna be having fully geared character on the Classic server and fully geared character on the TBC server, because then you're gonna be having like copied gear. So what I think would be a good solution is that you would just copy your character and he would be just naked on the TBC server. Maybe that's unpopular opinion, write me in the comments what do you think about it, but I think it makes sense, at least to me.
For Classic as it is now, our current servers I think will be progressive and move on to TBC, probably patch 2.43, we will talk about that in the future. Given my earlier timeline, which is why I'm now doubting it a little bit to be honest, the pre-patch for TBC would be at least 2 months ahead of it happening I believe, so February 2021 maybe? The pre-patch would be as it was in vanilla, Shaman gear and raid for Alliance, Paladin gear for Horde, maybe even the XP nerf from 1 to 60, as well as the addition of unlocking the new races early, Draenei for Alliance, Blood Elf for Horde. 2 months in my opinion is a good amount of time for players picking these 2 new classes to get up to speed for launch day, and I think it makes sense for players to be up and at the correct level, perhaps even geared a little bit for when launch day comes, or any re-rollers are going to feel so far behind. Even though, let's be real, TBC launch will probably be a total mess, you would probably be better off chilling on Azumith style during this time. Total side note, top guilds will be after Paladins and Shaman as an absolute priority. Heroism and Salvation, amongst the other buffs, are vital to a well-structured raid in TBC. If these races do release early, expect a serious jump in the number of
Bro, Paladins and Shamans are gonna be so much in demand, especially Shaman, because the Bloodlust in TBC is gonna be party based, so you want in your raid 5 Shamans. 5 shamans, so 25 people are gonna be benefiting from Bloodlust.
Dungeon boost at the end of Classic. And that just leaves me with one more point. Gold, gold, gold. What happens at the end of Classic to, say, I don't know, a player who has stockpiled thousands of thorium to prospect for gems, a player that has tens of thousands of raw gold, and a player who has researched the mats ready to level professions or sell profession kits to get as high as they can as soon as possible? How about a player who's set up half a dozen level 35 alts that he's going to profession cap to make Primal Might and Spellcloth? Are some of them okay, or none of them okay? Given how hard players go in Classic with investments and gold making techniques, should there be an effort into limiting how much is taken into TBC?
Yeah,
or is that just harming some
I think there should be a limit of how much gold you can actually take to TBC. That's a good point.
players for what they do for fun? Some people PvP, some people run dungeons or raid, some people make gold for fun. What I think will end up being the bigger deal are the profession alts, more so than Classic. The Alchemy and Tailor alts for Primal Might and Spellcloth will be the real gold printing machines in TBC, as both of those items will overall be in higher demand than Mooncloth and Arcanite bars are currently in Classic, despite their already high demand. As for gold, I think there would be some benefit from limiting what's taken to TBC so we can have a bit more of a progressive marketplace, because every day in Classic, with no way to get rid of gold other than respecs or repairs, your gold is worth a little bit less every day than it was yesterday. And by TBC, I think we can expect the marketplace for certain items to be cornered from day one, easily on many large servers. You saw what happened with Black Lotus. If people are coming in with massive amounts of gold, this will happen for sure.
Bro, Mount Hijal, this area, Caverns of Time, so beautiful. I love this area so much.
But for even more items. So that's it for the talk today. Let me know your thoughts on all this, and I will see you all in the next one. If you like what you see, give the
Leaving a like, subscribing, please support WillE. You can find his video in the description below. In the description below. Fellas, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel. As I mentioned, I think that there's a lot of questions. I think I mentioned my points already, but just to sum it up, TBC is gonna be awesome, and I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Write me in the comments what video I am supposed to check out in the next one.